G'day guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler here in a chilly shed this morning. It's just gone 11 and it's still only about 6 degrees outside. It's quite foggy. I've got the fire going, I've got the heater going up there, and I've got another heater, but it's not heating. Well, it actually is heating, but it doesn't stay on. So we're going to try and fix this today. This turned up in the e-waste when I was collecting it quite a few months ago, and I put it aside because it's too hard to sell a heater in summer. Now that the climate's more suitable, we should be able to pass this on, hopefully, but we need to have it working. Now, it's an Easy Home brand, which is a cheap supermarket brand. I think it's Aldi. And it turns on. I've cleaned it up, actually, because I thought it was working fine. I left it going for 10 minutes, and it clicked out, and everything froze. There was nothing on the controls that would work. I had to turn it off, essentially reboot it, if you can reboot a heater. And then it worked fine, but it then clicked out again. So there's some issue on the control board. I'm thinking possibly dodgy capacitors because, let's face it, these things are made very cheaply. And given that it's a heater, it gets hot. When capacitors are exposed to the heat, they don't usually last. So that's my plan of attack. We'll open it up, we'll have a look at the control board and do some testing. Now, of course, just about everyone on the planet except myself would throw this thing out, throw it into e-waste, throw it into the tip, throw it into scrap metal, and buy another one because they're pretty cheap. But I like to try and fix these things. It's satisfying to see if we can work out what's wrong with them, and hopefully it'll have another life. So it's branded over here Easy Home. It has a fan, but it's mostly convection. So the power's on at the moment. There's a switch around the side here. So the display lights up. It responds how it should. You've got an on switch here. Then there's a heating element. It's 1,000 watt. Or 1,300 watt or 2,300 watts. So it draws a bit of power when you've got it on full heat, and then it goes back to off. So we'll put it on, say, 1,300, turn the fan on, which is fairly quiet. That's the temperature of my shed at the moment because of all the heaters I've got going. It's set for 25 degrees, so it should keep heating pretty well non-stop at that setting. So the fan's working, there's heat coming out there, there's definitely heat coming out the top. I'll leave it for a little bit and we'll see how long it actually stays on for this time. Last time it was only about 5 minutes. Okay, so that went for almost an hour on the low setting. Was it medium? I think it was a medium, 1,300 watt. And it showed no signs of clicking out. Isn't it always the way? When you want to show there's a problem, things behave. I think they know. I turned it to the full power setting of 2,300 watts. And it only lasted a couple of minutes, and now it's clicked out. So it shouldn't do that. It has got the room temperature up to 17 degrees. Well, my other heaters are going too, so it's much more comfortable in my shed. But it's still set to go until 25, so it should not click out. Now the whole screen here is unresponsive. Nothing will work. Even the on-off here will not work. The only thing I can do to reset it is the main switch down the bottom. Turn it back on. And now it should actually go back to functioning. Yeah, thousands are low, 1,300. If we go full power, turn the fan on, it probably won't last long and it'll click out straight away. And so clearly there's a problem. It's a little bit intermittent, but on the highest setting, it's dropped back to 16. On the highest setting, it doesn't seem to last long before it clicks out. And I'm sure on the lower setting, it was clicking out earlier. So there's a fault. I'm going to pull it apart now and have a look at the circuit board. Okay, let's get into this thing. I think we'll take the feet off. It'll be easier because it'll sit flat. And I think one side panel, the back side panel, comes right off, which should give us pretty good access. These ones here too, I think. Okay. Oh, that's nice. It is nice when manufacturers allow you easy access, because I'm sure they would have had in mind that not many people will bother trying to fix these or even service them. Okay, we have a little board here. That's the display panel up the top. So really, I think the board down there is going to be where our issue is. Looks like we can access that by removing these screws down the bottom. Okay, it's on a little standoff. Well, we'll take that off in a minute too, but we need to unplug all the wiring. All right, I might just take a quick photo of where all the wires go, or at least show the camera now so that I can zoom back in and see. We have a blue. Did they unplug easy enough? Some of these are difficult to unplug because they have little spring clips holding them in. Oh, that's got it. So that one goes to the element. Yeah, these ones do have a little spring clips. That's the blue from the switch, so that's the neutral wire. That's pulled the terminal right out of the board. Okay, I'm going to have to solder that back in. These clips are a pain. And that one's done the same. It's the heat shrink tubing they put over them that makes it very hard to push the clip in. The white one down here goes to the heating element. That's better. And the white one here goes to the fan. Okay. Now we have a little black one here with a plug that goes to, I think that's a temperature sensor down the bottom. And then we have this big one that goes to the control panel. And that's it. Right, we better rescue these connectors and put them back into the board. Does anyone else have trouble with these clips? These ones are particularly cheap, and that's perhaps why we've got trouble with them. They've got a little tang in the middle there that clicks into the hole on the spade, which we can see there. And to release the tab, it's a little spring-loaded piece. You can see it on the back there. You need to push the top down from this side. And usually, like I was doing with the side cutters, I wasn't trying to cut. I was just trying to push that tab down and then pull from there. But these cheap clips, the tab is kind of recessed into how it's molded. And unless you really squash it hard, and then you're in danger of actually cutting it, it didn't release the little clip in the middle, and they're just so hard to pull out. So some of the better quality ones, you can just squeeze them here easily and they slide straight out. I think these are just cheap and nasty ones. We can solder these back into the board easily. Here's a look at the board. It's pretty simple. There's a couple of relays, and I know they were working okay because the heating element was clicking in and out. We have some electrolytic capacitors which I'll be checking and probably replacing. There's another capacitor here. I think it's like a filter capacitor, but if I've got one of those, I'll replace that as well, I think. All the resistors and diodes and transistors should be okay. I wouldn't have thought it'd be working at all if they're at fault. So I'm suspecting that they've used super cheap capacitors which are known to cause problems, and we've got to solder those two spades back in. This is a little beep alarm thing that sounds when it comes on and off. This is an overbalanced switch. It's got a little ball in there, so the thing rattles, so that when the heater tips over, it actually stops it heating for safety. And there's not much else, resistors are all going to be fine, I would imagine. So we'll test those capacitors and see if I've got some to replace them with. And just checking these capacitors for an ESR value, which is an indication of their health. And this one is supposed to be 0.6 as a maximum, and it's 0.87. So that's definitely outside spec. The other ones were close to their limits, and this one was okay. But given that these are rated at 105 degrees Celsius and they're inside a heater that possibly gets very hot, particularly if the heater had perhaps been obstructed and maybe something was dropped over the top of it, which of course is a fire risk, but these were quite stressed. And as I said earlier, I think they're probably the cheapest they could buy at the time. Now, there's nothing to say my replacements here are any better quality. These ones are 50 volt rated, whereas these ones are 35, so at least we've got a little bit more leeway there, but they're the same temperature setting. But anyway, they're new ones. These ones are not very healthy, judging from my ESO meter. So I'll replace the 4 electrolytic capacitors. I'm also going to replace this filter cap or suppression cap, because I had one here, a brand new one, and I would imagine that any capacitor is going to have some issues with high temperature. So that way we'll exclude any capacitor faults in the unit, and they are the weakest link. So I'll replace these and see how we go. So we just replaced the biggest one on camera, and I'll do the others off camera. I always add a bit of solder to the connection first, and then use the solder sucker to extract, well, suck the solder away. And that should be pretty clear. Okay, we need to know which way the polarity is, because electrolytic capacitors have a negative one side, positive the other. It actually is marked on the board anyway, so we're right there. So replacement is pretty simple. Poke the leads through the holes, as you would imagine, with the negative on the right side. I bend the leads out a little bit just so it doesn't fall off the board as I solder it in. Then we need to snip the ends off the leads. And that's one replaced. So there's the new improved board with 5 new capacitors, 4 electrolytics and a filter cap. There's the old ones. We just need to reassemble now. I've put those tags back in. I think I said that. It's all pretty good now. Hopefully that fixes the problem. The unit's all back together. I've neatened up the wiring and double checked that everything's plugged in the right way by looking back at the old footage. It's remarkably clean inside this heater, so I don't think it's ever had much use. But certainly the quality perhaps isn't there on these things. Okay, let's put the covers on. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's power it up through the appliance tester. Comes to life. It's actually 18 in my shed now. The other heaters are working well. I've got the wood fire going. Okay, that switch must be on, is it? Yes. So turn it on there. Give it some heat. Let's go to full power. And the fan. That's working. It's getting hot. Beautiful. We just need to make sure that it doesn't go off. So I'll leave it for a while, but I'm pretty confident that would have fixed it. And here we are in Christine's sewing room, where the heater has been working flawlessly for a number of days. Actually, that's not true. It's sitting on a floor, so there is a floor involved. It's been working faultlessly for, oh geez, I reckon best part of a week. It's been a while since I've got back to this video. It's really good in here, because even with the fan on, it's very quiet. But because it can just do convection as well, Christine finds it quite handy for when she's filming. There's no background noise. It is actually working like a brand new one. So pretty easy, pretty happy with that fix. It turned out quite easy, and there's probably a lot of these go to the tip that shouldn't go to the tip. But then again, if they made them better quality in the first place, it wouldn't be a problem. Still, I guess better quality means more expense, and companies just make things cheaper and cheaper because that's the way of the world, unfortunately. But at least if you've got one of these, it can be fixed relatively easily. Capacitors are certainly the weak link in a lot of stuff made in the last, say, 30 years. And it's certainly something to look at when you have symptoms, particularly like this one, where, you know, most of the stuff is pretty straightforward, and intermittent faults usually relate back to something that gets hot or something that's breaking down. Capacitors, I'm pointing at you. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you can fix your own heater if you have troubles. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.